go to the most senior lawyer. Well, no, not actually the most senior lawyer on the panel necessarily, since we have the Attorney General.
I'm the first law officer of this country.
Let's first go to Geoffrey Robertson.
All right, he does have a right to silence. It's not for Julia Gillard or for Christopher Payne to say that he should go to the police. The police should go to him.
They have.
They should have gone to him 3 years ago when the Sydney Morning Herald first made these allegations. Fair Work Australia is obviously not fit for purpose. They should have gone to the police with any evidence that they obtained.
Can I just interrupt? Do you have a view as to how the politicians should
Yeah, I
handle
do. I think we have had this in Britain where a lot of MPs have been accused of fiddling expenses and so on, and there is now something that's common to all parties. It's not a party political point, but when a member of Parliament has credible suspicions raised against him of, as you said, a serious criminal offence, the party should suspend them from membership. Immediately suspend them from membership, and that means that they are entitled to work for their constituents. They're entitled to come into the House and vote, but they don't have a whip to vote. He wouldn't have the Labour whip. He could vote for your party across the House.
We would say
that seems unlikely.
That would be an unusual move.
we would say he'd go to the cross benches in this
well,
case.
possibly,
but that hasn't even happened in this case.
Well, no, that's why I think the proper thing for the ALP to do is to suspend him, because that, of course, prevents it from being tarnished by anything that, if he is convicted, ultimately, you obviously expel him and he goes to jail for several years. If he's acquitted, or if indeed, on examination of the evidence, it's discovered, as he's saying, that it was the victim of a plot, then you take him back. But
okay,
I think is
Geoffrey,
the way
let's put that point to the Attorney General, and I'm interested to hear. I mean, if the British Parliament can do this, why not the Australian Parliament? Surely it would take a lot of political pressure off the government.
Yeah, well, look, I think that it's an option in theory, and maybe as things develop. Don't forget, all of us have been frustrated about how long the Fair Work Australia process has taken. It has then become this highly politicised situation in a parliament where the numbers are very tight. That's why it's been played so hard, I think, by the opposition. Fair enough. That's, how the numbers are. But we haven't had actually any content. There's been all these swirling allegations. No one's got the report. No one actually is aware what is being alleged in detail. So I think...
But one of the reasons for that is the Prime Minister refuses to look at the report.
Well, no, that's not right. The reason for that is that Fair Work Australia has not provided that information. It's not public. It's not released.
But it's going to be released to a Senate committee, so it begs the question as to why the Prime Minister couldn't look at it in advance of that.
Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't say you should let a process run and it shouldn't be politically interfered with, and then say she should interfere and take this particular action.
We have heard that argument. I'm going to go back one step, because it seemed to me you said in theory you could actually suspend him. That would actually not necessarily be a bad way of dealing with this.
Well, I mean, I think that the truth is that if these allegations were right, they're very serious. I don't think any member of the Labor Party or the union movement thinks it is good if there are allegations that people have misused union funds.
No, but this is before you discuss...
Are entitled...
Geoffrey Robertson's talking about a position that one takes when there are credible allegations, not when they've been examined and gone through the court process. In other words, the British politicians have decided, let's suspend the people who are under suspicion.
Yeah.
Now, wouldn't that be a good idea from your point of view politically?
Well, yes, I said theoretically it is. I don't think they're strictly
well, why won't they?
Comparisons, because... Geoffrey may have plenty of examples. Most of the examples we've seen here in Britain have been ones where clear misuse of funds has already
people like
been
Peter
identified.
Hain, Dennis McShane, very top politicians, when an allegation is made of fiddling expenses or whatever, they are suspended, and of course they're returned back as soon as they have the allegations dismissed.
Sorry, Geoffrey, the ACTU has seen fit to suspend the Health Services Union.
So you're saying the principle has been established?
Well, the ACTU has seen fit to suspend the Health Services Union, and yet the Prime Minister continues to say at press conferences he's yet to see any evidence that would convince her that she needs to take any action.
I mean, I
over
think
Craig
the other
Thomson.
process that...
He hasn't even given a statement to the Parliament.
The other process that obviously happens in some situations too is that a person of their own accord would do that and say,
Sure.
that while these allegations are underway, I'll stand down. You do have to remember...
Would you like to see him do that?
Well, I think it's a very personal matter, and I think we haven't had the tradition that they've had in Britain. We had federal
but would
police...
you like, would you like to see him do it, personally?
This is an important thing. I will answer that. But in Australia, the tradition has been, in the Howard government, federal police investigations, members were not stood down, they were not cast out of the party. Now, maybe that creates an impression that, all Australian politicians are on the take.
You're not casting them out of the
They're
party.
not.
All you're saying is you're suspended until this serious matter is cleared up.
I'd like to move on, but I would like to hear your response to would you like to see him do that?
I think it would take the political heat out of it, but I'm not sure that it is fair when the sort of hysteria that's being created by the opposition is then the measure for whether you do it.
They couldn't create it if you suspended it.
All right, I think we got an answer there.